Hey, Derek. Oh, you're muted.
Did I appear and then disappear?
I was setting up the YouTube, so I didn't see you.
I think my Zoom restarted.
Oh, okay. You're here now.
Alrighty.
Well, Derek, I think I will start the webinar. That gives people a chance to come in when you're ready.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Looks good.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'll start the webinar, and then when you're ready, you can just start presenting.
Sounds good.
Okay. Have fun.
Good afternoon. If you're joining us early, thank you. We'll wait a moment more to see if others will be logging in.
We do have some folks logging in, which is exciting.
All right, we're just about at time here, so I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. So this is near the end of the Fall 22 Education Abroad Fair, the virtual portion. Thank you for those of us who attended earlier sessions, as well as those who attended the in-person fair yesterday. It's been wonderful to engage with everybody across campus. So today we're going to be talking about opportunities in Spain and Portugal. So a couple different programs we're going to highlight, and we'll also introduce just how the education abroad process works here at CSU, again with the emphasis on Spain and Portugal. Before we begin, I do want to read the CSU land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This is also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties these nations have to their traditional homeland are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion. And significantly, that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. To introduce myself, my name is Derek Smallwood. I use pronouns he, him, and his. I studied abroad in Rome, Italy as an undergraduate. Then after I graduated, I spent a semester teaching English in Hebron, Palestine, where this picture is from. I am our Assistant Director of Education Abroad, so I support the office operational functions, helping get all of our students abroad in a wide variety of locations around the world. And I'm also our International Risk Manager. So part of my responsibility is supporting the health and safety of our programming, helping students have safe and successful experiences abroad. So to begin these presentations, we do want to quickly touch on some myths we often hear associated with education abroad. And when I say myths, I use that word because these are often perceived barriers, right? I think there's these kind of conceptions or preconceived ideas about education abroad that we want to quickly address from the beginning. So first and foremost, there's this concern that education abroad will delay graduation. And that's certainly not necessarily true if students are planning ahead and working really collaboratively with all the different resources available to them. There's a wide variety of programs that would work really well for your major, for your interests, for your language acquisition. And education abroad can certainly keep you on track for graduation. In fact, if you're doing a program over summer or over winter break, you can even get ahead on credits. Something else we often hear a lot about is cost. And I think that's because, this is sometimes people associate education abroad with like travel or vacation, which, obviously has some finances associated with it. But because this is an academic experience, and sometimes we're studying in countries where there's like a lower cost of living or education is lower cost, some of these programs can be really quite affordable. In fact, some are even less expensive than cost of attendance here at CSU. And when I say cost of attendance, I'm thinking not just about tuition, but like housing, personal expenses, what it costs for us to live in Fort Collins for a semester. Some programs are certainly comparable and some programs are more expensive. So depending on where your priorities at with finances, we can certainly talk about opportunities that are pretty affordable or, opportunities that are comparable or more than CSU. Another thing we always want to emphasize too is that these programs can fulfill course requirements. So let's say you have a specific degree requirement. There are certainly opportunities to find that specific course or find that specific requirement in an international context. So that could be an internship requirement, that could be a specific class for your major. It really just depends on where you're at in your grad plan and what you're looking for. And there's a wide variety of programs that could perhaps fulfill those exact requirements. And then finally, I think especially over the course of the pandemic, we've heard a lot of concern about health and safety, which is understandable. I think we really want to be intentional when we're spending extended times abroad. But we have an entire risk management team, not just myself, but others in the office who support student health and safety. And I often say, especially if you're a first-time traveler, these education abroad opportunities can be a great opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door of international travel because there's so much support going into these experiences, not just from the education abroad office, but all the different organizations we're working with, the different resources here on campus, organizations abroad to help you navigate this entire experience. So I oftentimes say to students, this can be a great opportunity to learn how to be an international traveler, so then you can re-enter the travel environments later in life, with more confidence. Oh, I guess actually one other pertinent myth I do want to think about specific to this area of the world we're talking about. So again, we're talking about Spain and Portugal today, is that you need to be fluent in Spanish or fluent in Portuguese to study in these locations. And honestly, for better or worse, English is kind of the lingua franca of the world. You can really kind of get by most countries with English these days, especially interacting with people your own age. English is a very commonly spoken language for college-age students around the world. While of course, knowing some Spanish, knowing some Portuguese would help you immerse yourself into the culture, into the experience in a more meaningful way. I always recommend students take a crash course either before they go or while they're abroad. You do not need to be fluent. All of your courses will be in English. You'll again be able to navigate pretty successfully in English. While language acquisition is helpful and I think important for that engagement, it's certainly not necessary. Another important myth, I think, when we're talking about this part of the world is, again, you do not need to be fluent in the local language. So helping students think about especially those academic concerns, we've worked really closely with different departments here on campus to make what we call recommended programs. So this is a list of 15 to 25 different options that would work really well for specific majors. Sorry, my phone. So depending on what your major is, I recommend that you go look at our website. You can see if there's, hey, I'm an engineering student. Are there specifically recommended programs for me in Spain? I think the answer would be yes. Or I'm an HDFS student, is there options in Spain? We do have recommended programs for Spanish majors. I think we have recommended programs for Spanish minors as well. And again, these have been vetted by your department to say they work specifically for your major to keep you on track for graduation. By no means are you limited to these options, but this is a really good place to start. And if you see something that really resonates with what your goals and priorities are on this program list, there you go. It's a great place to kind of get the ball rolling. But again, by no means are you limited to these recommended programs. You can find those on our website. And again, it's a great place to start. So now I'm going to spend a couple of moments highlighting 3 different programs in this part of the world that just gives you a kind of a glimpse into 3 different program models that are available to us CSU students. So this first is an internship opportunity in Valencia, Spain. This is something that we've seen get really popular in recent years, is doing an internship abroad. And what's cool about this is you can gain professional development experience while you're in that international learning environment. So doing an internship in a relevant field for your major and helping you determine, hey, is this something you want to do for long term after you graduate? While also gaining that intercultural communication skills, travel experience being in Spain, getting to interact with new people in a new country. This particular program is over the summer. It takes place about mid-May to mid-August. You're with other CSU students in this internship, but the organization that facilitates it, ISA, also works with US college students around the US, so you get to interact with other students with like interests. ISA will help students find a placement in an organization that fits with their long-term goals and career interests. And as part of that vetting process, you're working really closely with ISA to learn more about what that experience would look like on the ground. Students have an opportunity to either live in apartments with other students or in a homestay with a Spanish family, which is a really unique opportunity to immerse yourself into Spanish culture and language, and really just do something you would never be able to do just as a tourist or a visitor. So yeah, that's one of the internship opportunities. Again, a summer in Valencia, Spain through ISA. Oh, one last note about the internships. This particular location works well for students in natural sciences, engineering. They have opportunities in equine science. They do have opportunities for students in other majors, but again, those are the ones that work particularly well based on this experiences we've seen ISA be able to place students in. This internship also would be advantageous to have some degree of conversational Spanish, so you can really make the most of your interactions with your coworkers in Spain. Is not required, but this particular program does prioritize students with a higher level of Spanish, again, just to make the most of this particular experience in working alongside Spanish colleagues. Just to not contradict myself in the earlier note about not needing to be fluent in Spanish, this is a program, and the other ones we're talking about, where you don't need any level of Spanish to be able to participate. So this is through an organization called CIEE. And they have a really unique program model called Open Campus, where they have one block, they call, in Madrid, Spain. So Madrid is a cosmopolitan city, really European experience in the middle of Spain. So a really unique opportunity to get to travel out other parts of the country, on weekends. The way the Open Campus program works is you spend 6 weeks in 3 different locations over the course of the semester. If you wanted to, you could spend the entire semester in Madrid, or you could spend 6 weeks in Madrid, 6 weeks in London, 6 weeks in Rome. So unique opportunity to check out a couple of different countries over the course of the semester. In Madrid, CIEE does work with a local university in addition to the courses they run through their home campus. So CIEE kind of runs like a little mini university for American study abroad students in Madrid, but then I also work with a local university where you could take one class alongside Spanish university students. Open Campus program works particularly well for business students, language, literatures, and cultures, liberal arts programming, in some STEM, but again, mostly in the humanities and other social sciences. But by no means are you limited. You want to do a little research to see if these programs could fit to your specific grad plan. This is a semester-long program. They do run some summer programming too, but this is a particular open campus. It is a semester-long program, again, where you could spend the entire semester in Madrid if you so chose, or you could spend 6 weeks in a couple different countries around the world, which is pretty cool. The last program I want to highlight is a faculty-led program. So this is an opportunity to travel to CSU faculty member and other CSU students and take a CSU class abroad. This is a really unique one where you're actually spending this summer, so it's a summer program, hiking the Camino de Santiago. So the Camino de Santiago is a pilgrimage trail, a historical pilgrimage trail. I think it's from the medieval ages, right? Let's just call it old pilgrimage trail that you hike. You hike up to 100 kilometers over the course of the summer, and you're working on your Spanish throughout the course of that hike and engaging with local culture. So 100 kilometers, 60 miles over the course of several weeks, essentially just doing Spanish language on the trail. Really unique opportunity to have this historical kind of rite of passage in Spain, while also learning CSU credit. So you can earn LSPA 352, or LSPA 301 or 401, depending on where your Spanish language is at. So what a unique chance to get to spend an immersive opportunity with a CSU professor, gain a academic reference for later in life, spend a lot of great time with other CSU students as you hike this pilgrimage trail. So that's just an example of an internship. That CIEE program is what's called an affiliate program. So CSU works with CIEE to bring students around the world. And then finally, a faculty-led program, just 3 different examples. I didn't put a Portugal program in here, but I do want to highlight there's a couple different opportunities. One through at least one faculty-led program. I think there's another new one in the works, as well as a couple different organizations we work with bring students to Portugal, which is a spectacular country, highly affordable, a little bit less traveled than a lot of other countries like Spain or Italy. So a little bit more opportunity to really immerse yourself in Portuguese culture, and some really unique and cool programs there as well. I'd be happy to show you how to find those on the website. Great. Introduction to some programs. Now, how are we earning credit for these experiences? Everything we're doing through our office is 4 credits. So you can either earn CSU credit or you can earn transfer credit. So I mentioned that faculty-led program, and there's a couple of different LSPA classes that you could take over the course of the summer. And that's just a CSU class, right? No ifs, ands, or buts how that transfers. It's a CSU class. For the CIEE program, you'd be doing transfer credit. So it's something that we work out far in advance via this transfer credit form, how these classes will fit into your specific graduation plan. For that internship, there's an opportunity to take a class through CSU. You can take a class through your department, or you can do transfer credit depending on what would be best for your graduation plan. There's a couple different options. But again, all of these experiences are going to be 4 credit, which means you can use financial aid, which means these are all contributing to your graduation plan, can kind of help justify this experience beyond the personal growth opportunities. It's that academic development. And again, this is something that we're working out long before you go. We don't want you to have to figure this out when you get back. We're figuring out how this fits into your grad plan before you go, and that's done via this transfer credit form. You're working on that transfer credit form with the registrar, with my office, with your academic advisor, and those are just a few of the resources available to you. There's also support on site. So for example, CIEE or ISA, the organization that facilitates those internships. These are companies that are really well versed with supporting American Study Abroad students and CSU students throughout these experiences. And they're going to be on the ground with you throughout your time abroad. For that faculty-led program, you'd also have a CSU faculty member. Through all these experiences, you have my office as a resource. So again, there's a lot of different support systems you can turn to as you navigate this experience before, during, and even after your time abroad. Another set of resources is through the financial aid office. So these are some wonderful colleagues, Cindy and Evelyn, who work in the Office of Financial Aid specifically to support education abroad students. So 99% of the scholarships, grants, and loans that you receive to support your studies here at CSU can transfer to an education abroad experience, which is pretty cool. In addition to this aid that you already received, there are scholarships specifically for education abroad that we really want students to take advantage of. So one would be through the Common Scholarship application, and that scholarship's available through the Education Abroad office. You'll see the deadlines here on the screen. There are nationally competitive scholarships, depending on what you may be eligible for. We would certainly like you to take advantage of those, and we'd be happy to point you in the right direction, again, depending on what you might be eligible for. And then the organizations we work with, like CIEE, like the ISA, they have their own scholarships available to you. So there's all this funding out there that we want you to take advantage of, and we are all available to help you point in the right direction so you can access this funding. Finally, another resource available to you is our peer advisors. So these are students who recently returned from education abroad, and they're a great resource to help you navigate kind of on that peer-to-peer level what this experience may look like. They all travel to different parts of the world. Taylor, for example, did our internship in Spain that I was highlighting earlier. Again, depending on what your major is, where you're interested in going, you could talk to Katie about CEA Madrid or Taylor about that internship, but also all these peers are great resources just to talk about what the process looks like here at CSU. All right, so how do I get connected with Education Abroad Office and advisors? So our peer advisors are available Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4, so all the time. And they're, again, happy to chat. Just pop in by the office and say hello. They can show you how to use our website. They can talk about their own experiences, give you some tips. Again, great initial resources to get this process started. You can also meet with Education Abroad staff during the times listed here. You can see more if you take a little screenshots, or rather, if you just scan this with your phone, you'll learn more about how to access our advising hours, which again, are quite open, and we really want students to pop in and take advantage of these open advising to connect with us as soon as possible. Last page here is a link to our Start Here section of our website. So this is a great one-stop shop of kind of a step-by-step timeline on how this process would work. Of course, there's a couple more pieces to the whole thing, but this is a great, again, one-stop shop of like, all right, what's my step one? What's the final step? And we'll help you fill in the things in between. But there's one thing taking away from this meeting today. We take a screenshot of this or take a picture of this. It's a great resource on our website. So we're just about at time. I know that's a little lot of information, a little bit of time. If we have any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Otherwise, I want to thank you for joining us today. And again, thank you for joining the Education Abroad Fair.
Derek, that was super informative. Thank you for sharing all that knowledge. Don't have any questions in the chat so far. We'll hang around for a minute, see if anybody puts any chats in. Thank you so much to those of you who attended today. Well, all right, friends, I think we're all done. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Derek. And please reach out if you have questions and want to get started.